Big Bang Theory. Season 1 Episode 6. Series 01 Episode 06 The Middle-earth Paradigm Scene. Lobby of the apartment building. Howard, Raj, Sheldon and Leonard enter in combat gear, covered in blue paint. Raj. Okay, if no one else will say it, I will. We really suck at paintball. Expression. Raj's immediate and blunt admission of their failure sets a self-deprecating tone for the scene. Howard. Yes, but you don't have to lose to Kyle Bernstein's bar mitzvah party. Cultural reference. Bar mitzvah. A Jewish coming-of-age ceremony for boys. At age 13. Expression. Howard's specificity highlights the humiliating nature of their defeat, as they lost to a group of preteen boys. Leonard. I think we have to acknowledge, those were some fairly savage pre-adolescent Jews. Expression. Leonard's humorous, and slightly politically incorrect, attempt to rationalize their loss by complimenting the unexpected ferocity of their opponents. Sheldon. You know, we were annihilated by our own incompetence and the inability of some people to follow the chain of command. Vocabulary. Annihilated, completely destroyed. Chain of command. A system in an organization where instructions are passed down from the highest authority to the lowest. Expression. Sheldon, true to form, immediately blames the loss on his teammates' lack of adherence to his perceived leadership and incompetence, ignoring his own role. Leonard. You hid behind a tree yelling, "Get the kid in the yarmulke, get the kid in the yarmulke." Cultural reference. Yarmulke. A skullcap worn by Jewish men. Expression. Leonard reveals Sheldon's actual, less than heroic, and again, slightly inappropriate, behavior during the paintball game. Sheldon. Sure, if you consider being fragged by your own troops fun. To Howard, you clear space on your calendar, there will be an enquiry. Military slang. Fragged. Slang. To be deliberately killed or wounded by one's own side, often with a hand grenade, from Vietnam War. Expression. Sheldon exaggerates the betrayal by Howard with military jargon and vows a formal enquiry, demonstrating his dramatic flair and rigid adherence to perceived rules. Penny. Okay, oh hey, I'm having a party on Saturday, so if you guys are around you should come by. Expression. Penny's casual invitation sets the stage for the main plot of the episode. Howard. A boy-girl party? Expression. Howard's immediate focus on the potential for romantic interaction, highlighting his desperate desire for female attention. Sheldon. Dancing? Leonard. Yeah, I don't know, Penny. Sheldon. The thing is, we're not. Leonard. We're really more. Sheldon. No. Leonard. But thanks for thinking of us. Expression. The guy's awkward and synchronized rejection of the party, as they try to politely explain their lack of social skills, especially when it comes to dancing. Sheldon's blunt no cuts off Leonard's attempt at politeness. Penny. Are you sure? Come on, it's Halloween. Sheldon. A Halloween party? Howard. As in, costumes? Penny. Well, yeah. Leonard. Is there a theme? Penny. Yeah, Halloween. Expression. The immediate change in the guys' demeanor once they hear Halloween party and costumes, showcasing their specific niche interests. Penny's confusion at their need for a theme beyond Halloween highlights their overthinking. Sheldon. Yes, but are the costumes random or genre specific? Leonard. He's asking if we can come as anyone from science fiction, fantasy. Sheldon. What about comic books? Penny. Fine. Sheldon. Anime? Penny. Of course. Sheldon. TV, film, D&D, manga, Greek gods, Roman gods, Norse gods. Penny. Anything you want, okay? Any costume you want. Bye. Cultural references, science fiction, fantasy, comic books, anime, D&D, Dungeons and Dragons, manga. Greek gods, Roman gods, Norse gods, all popular genres and categories for elaborate, themed costumes. Expression. The rapid-fire questioning from Sheldon, detailing every possible category for a costume, showcases his obsessive need for specificity and rules, while Penny's increasing exasperation leads to her final, exasperated, anything you want. Howard. Gentlemen, to the sewing machines. Expression. Howard's enthusiastic declaration, showing their immediate shift from social awkwardness to focused planning for the costumes. Scene: the apartment living room. There is a knock on the door. Leonard, off, I'll get it. He enters wearing a Flash costume. Opens door. Howard, entering at speed, also wearing a Flash costume. Meow. They stare at each other in shock. Sheldon. Oh no. He is also wearing a Flash costume. Slash. Raj. Make way for the fastest man alive. Enters, also in a Flash costume. Oh no. Cultural reference. The Flash, a DC Comics superhero known for his superhuman speed. Expression. The comedic reveal that all four of them chose the same, coolest, superhero costume, highlighting their shared geeky mindset and lack of coordination. The sound, meow, is a humorous onomatopoeia for speed. Sheldon. See, this is why I wanted to have a costume meeting. Expression. Sheldon's predictable, I told you so, moment, reinforcing his need for order and planning. Raj. Or, we could walk right behind each other all night and look like one person. Going really fast. Expression. Raj's creative, and slightly absurd, suggestion to make the most of their identical costumes. Howard. No, 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 it's a boy-girl party, this Flash runs solo. Expression. Howard, again, prioritizing the potential for romantic encounters, immediately rejects Raj's group idea. Leonard. I call Frodo. All. Damn. Cultural reference. Frodo, the Hobbit protagonist from J.R.R. Tolkien's The Lord of the Rings. Expression. Leonard quickly claims the next best, and likely only other, costume option, leading to frustration from the others, showing their limited scope of interest. Scene. The same, later. Leonard is dressed as Frodo. Howard appears to be Peter Pan. There is a knock on the door. Raj, entering dressed as Thor. Hey. Sorry I'm late, but my hammer got stuck in the door on the bus. Cultural reference. Thor, the Norse god of thunder, a popular Marvel Comics superhero. Expression. Raj's humorous excuse for being late, highlighting the impracticality of his costume. Raj. What? Just because I'm Indian I can't be a Norse god? No, 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 Raj has to be an Indian god. That's racism. I mean, look at Wolowitz, he's not English, but he's dressed like Peter Pan. Sheldon, entering in a bodysuit featuring black and white vertical lines, is neither sound nor light, but he's obviously the Doppler effect. Cultural references. Norse god, Indian god. Raj's assertion challenges stereotypes, humorously accusing the others of racism for assuming he'd choose a character based on his ethnicity. Peter Pan, the boy who never grows up, from J.M. Barrie's stories, often depicted in green tights. Doppler effect, a scientific phenomenon where the perceived frequency of a wave changes due to the relative motion of the source and observer, e.g., the change in pitch of a siren as it approaches and recedes. Sheldon's costume visually represents this, showcasing his unique, literal, and scientific sense of humor. Expression. Raj's passionate, and slightly overly dramatic, defense of his costume choice against perceived racism, then his sharp, observant comments on Howard and Sheldon's costumes. Howard. I'm not Peter Pan, I'm Robin Hood. Cultural reference. Robin Hood, a legendary heroic outlaw in English folklore, also often depicted in green, though usually less cute than Peter Pan. Expression. Howard's attempt to correct Raj, wanting to be seen as a more masculine hero. Raj. Really, because I saw Peter Pan, and you're dressed exactly like Kathy Rigby. She was a little bigger than you, but it's basically the same look, man. Cultural reference. Kathy Rigby, an Olympic gymnast famous for playing Peter Pan in stage productions, known for her small stature and green leotard. Expression. Raj's devastatingly accurate and humiliating comparison, implying Howard looks like a female gymnast playing Peter Pan, directly attacking Howard's masculinity. Sheldon. I don't care if anybody gets it, I'm going as the Doppler effect. Leonard. No, it's not. Sheldon. If I have to, I can demonstrate. Neo www. Expression. Sheldon's fierce dedication to his highly intellectual and obscure costume, even if no one understands it. And his immediate demonstration of the sound. Leonard. This party is my first chance for Penny to see me in the context of her social group, and I need you not to embarrass me tonight. Expression. Leonard expresses his vulnerability and his high hopes for the party, explicitly asking Sheldon to behave. Sheldon. Well, what exactly do you mean by embarrass you? Leonard. For example, tonight no one needs to know that my middle name is Lakey. Expression. Sheldon's feigned ignorance, leading to Leonard's revealing his embarrassing middle name. Sheldon. Well, there's nothing embarrassing about that. Your father worked with Louis Lakey, a great anthropologist. It had nothing to do with your bedwetting. Cultural reference. Louis Lakey, a famous paleoanthropologist. Expression. Sheldon, with his typical lack of social filter, immediately reveals a deeply embarrassing childhood secret about Leonard's bedwetting, linking it to the name. Leonard. All I'm saying is that this party is the perfect opportunity for Penny to see me as a member of her peer group. A potential close friend and, perhaps more. I don't want to look like a dork. Expression. Leonard articulates his desire to fit in with Penny's social circle and his hope for a romantic connection, expressing his fear of appearing socially awkward. Scene. The hallway. Howard knocks on Penny's door with his bow. Howard. Just a heads up fellas, if anyone gets lucky I've got a dozen condoms in my quiver. Vocabulary. Quiver. A case for carrying arrows. Expression. Howard, ever the lech, immediately brings up his sexual preparedness, using a costume-related double entendre. Penny, opening door, not in costume. Oh, hey guys. Expression. Penny's casual appearance, contrasting sharply with the guys' elaborate costumes. Sheldon. And you said the party starts at 7. Penny. Well, yeah, when you start a party at 7, no one shows up at, 7. Sheldon. It's 7:05. Penny. Yes. Yes it is. Okay, well, come on in. Expression. Sheldon's literal interpretation of party start times, highlighting his lack of understanding of social conventions. Penny's exasperated response shows her experience with typical party dynamics. Howard. What, are all the girls in the bathroom? Penny. Probably, but in their own homes. Expression. Howard's crude assumption that the lack of guests means all the girls are hiding, and Penny's sarcastic correction, highlighting the social norm of arriving late to parties. Sheldon. So what time does the costume parade start? Penny. The parade? Sheldon. Yeah, so the judges can give out the prizes for best costume, most frightening, most authentic, most accurate visual representation of a scientific principle. Penny. Oh, Sheldon, I'm sorry but there aren't going to be any parades or judges or prizes. Sheldon. This party is just going to suck. Expression. Sheldon's highly detailed and competitive expectation for the Halloween party, including specific judging categories. His immediate declaration that the party will suck when his expectations aren't met highlights his rigid personality and inability to enjoy unstructured fun. Howard. I'm Peter Pan. And I've got a handful of pixie dust. With your name on it. Penny. No you don't. Cultural reference. Pixie dust. Magical dust from Peter Pan that allows flight. Expression. Howard's quick embrace of the Peter Pan persona and his attempt to use a suggestive, and slightly creepy, line, which Penny immediately deflates. Sheldon. Yes. It's the apparent change in the frequency of a wave caused by relative motion between the source of the wave and the observer. Penny. Oh, sure, I see it now, the Doppler effect. Expression. Sheldon's textbook definition of the Doppler effect, and Penny's polite, but clearly feigned, understanding, showing her willingness to humor him. Sheldon. See, people get it. Expression. Sheldon's naive belief that Penny genuinely understood his complex costume. Time shift, the party is in full swing. The four guys are sitting together around the coffee table. Raj. By Odin's beard, this is good Chex Mix. Cultural reference. Odin's beard, an exclamation used by Thor, invoking his father. Chex Mix, a snack mix. Expression. Raj, still in character as Thor, praises the snack. Howard. No thanks, peanuts, I can't afford to swell up in these tights. Expression. Howard's continued awareness of his peanut allergy and the potential for a reaction in his tight costume. Sheldon, I'm confused. If there's no costume parade, what are we doing here? Leonard, we're socializing, meeting new people. Sheldon, telepathically? Expression. Sheldon's fundamental misunderstanding of social gatherings, his literal interpretation of meeting new people, and his sarcasm. Raj, Penny is wearing the worst Catwoman costume I have ever seen, and that includes Halle Berry's. Cultural reference, Catwoman, Halle Berry. Raj critiques Penny's costume by comparing it to a famously disliked movie version of Catwoman, highlighting his pop culture critical tendencies. Sheldon, and that's the kind of sloppy costuming which results from a lack of rules and competition. Expression. Sheldon's unwavering belief that rules and competition are essential for any activity, even informal parties. Howard, hey guys, check out the sexy nurse. I believe it's time for me to turn my head and cough. Raj, what is your move? Howard, I'm going to use the mirror. Technique. She brushes her hair back, I brush my hair back, she shrugs, I shrug, subconsciously she's thinking we're in sync, we belong together. Expression. Howard's creepy and pseudo-scientific pickup artistry techniques, showcasing his attempts to manipulate women. Howard, if that's a working stethoscope. Maybe you'd like to hear my heart skip a beat. Nurse costume girl, no thanks. Howard, no, seriously, you can, I have transient idiopathic arrhythmia. Medical terminology. Transient idiopathic arrhythmia, a temporary, irregular heartbeat of unknown cause. Expression. Howard's desperate and inappropriate attempt to turn a medical condition into a pickup line, highlighting his lack of social grace. Sheldon. Like Jane Goodall observing the apes, I initially saw their interactions as confusing and unstructured, but patterns emerge, they have their own language if you will. Leonard, go on. Sheldon, well, it seems that the newcomer approaches the existing group with the greeting, how wasted am I, which is met with an approving chorus of, dude. Leonard, then what happens? Sheldon, that's as far as I've gotten. Cultural reference, Jane Goodall, a famous primatologist known for her long-term study of chimpanzees. Expression. Sheldon's condescending comparison of party-goers to apes, his attempt to scientifically analyze social interactions, and his limited success, highlighting his social awkwardness. Leonard, this is ridiculous, I'm jumping in. Sheldon, good luck. Leonard, no, you're coming with me. Sheldon, oh, I hardly think so. Leonard, come on. Sheldon, aren't you afraid I'll embarrass you? Leonard, yes, but I need a wingman. Idiom. Wingman, slang, a male friend who accompanies another male friend to assist them in meeting women. Expression. Leonard's desperation leads him to enlist Sheldon as a wingman, despite knowing Sheldon will likely embarrass him, highlighting his profound social awkwardness. Sheldon, all right, but if we're going to use flight metaphors, I'm much more suited to being the guy from the FAA, analyzing wreckage. Cultural reference. FAA, Federal Aviation Administration, the U.S. agency responsible for regulating civil aviation. Expression. Sheldon's characteristic self-assessment, admitting his unsuitability as a wingman but offering a more Sheldon-like analytical role. Sheldon, me? I'll give you a hint. Neo www. Girl. A choo-choo train? Sheldon. Close. Neo www. Girl. A brain-damaged choo-choo train? Expression. Sheldon's frustratingly obscure costume, and the girl's increasingly comical and accurate misinterpretations, highlighting the gap between Sheldon's intellect and social comprehension. Butterfly girl, dropping onto sofa next to Raj, how wasted am I? Raj shrugs. Slang. Wasted, slang, heavily intoxicated. Expression. The girl immediately uses Sheldon's observed greeting, and Raj's inability to speak to women leads to a simple shrug, a glimpse of his condition. Time shift. Sheldon and Leonard are now talking to a girl in a princess costume. Sheldon. Okay, if that is some sort of learning disability, I think it's very insensitive. Expression. The girl, misunderstanding Sheldon's costume, projects her own misplaced sensitivity onto him. Leonard. Why don't you just tell people you're a zebra? Sheldon. Well, why don't you just tell people you're one of the 7 dwarves? Leonard. Because I'm Frodo. Sheldon. Yes, well, I'm the Doppler effect. Cultural references. Zebra. A black and white striped animal, visually similar to Sheldon's costume. 7 dwarves. From Snow White. Expression. Leonard tries to offer a simpler explanation for Sheldon's costume, leading to Sheldon's petty and stubborn refusal, demonstrating his rigid adherence to his chosen identity. Leonard. That's Penny's ex-boyfriend. Sheldon. What do you suppose he's doing here? Besides disrupting the local gravity field. Leonard. If he were any bigger, he'd have moons orbiting him. Expression. The guy's immediate shift to observing Kurt, Penny's large ex-boyfriend, and their use of scientific and astronomical metaphors to describe his imposing presence, highlighting their academic way of dealing with social threats. Sheldon. Oh, snap. So I guess we'll be leaving now. Slang. Oh, snap, slang. An expression of surprise or realization of something significant, often negative. Expression. Sheldon's immediate assumption that they should leave after seeing the physical threat Kurt poses. Leonard. You have a backup hypothesis. Sheldon. Or maybe she wants to be friends, and he wants something more. Leonard. Then he and I are on equal ground. Sheldon. Yes, but you're much closer to it than he is. Vocabulary. Hypothesis. A proposed explanation made on the basis of limited evidence as a starting point for further investigation. Expression. Leonard attempts to maintain hope with a backup hypothesis, but Sheldon's brutal honesty, and visual reference to Leonard's height, immediately deflates him. Leonard. Look, if this was 15,000 years ago, by virtue of his size and strength, Kurt would be entitled to his choice of female partners. Sheldon. And male partners. Animal partners. Large primordial eggplants, pretty much whatever tickled his fancy. Cultural reference. Large primordial eggplants. A humorous and absurd image, combining scientific concepts with a mundane object, showcasing Sheldon's unique and literal thought process. Expression. Leonard theorizes about evolutionary advantages, and Sheldon takes it to an absurd, hilarious extreme. Leonard. Yes, but our society has undergone a paradigm shift. In the information age, Sheldon, you and I are the alpha males. We shouldn't have to back down. Vocabulary. Paradigm shift. A fundamental change in approach or underlying assumptions. Alpha males. Dominant males in a group. Expression. Leonard attempts to use scientific jargon to assert his intellectual superiority and motivate himself and Sheldon. Sheldon. True. Why don't you text him that and see if he backs down? Expression. Sheldon's literal and logical, but socially clueless, suggestion to apply Leonard's theory. Highlighting the absurdity of their intellectual bravado against physical reality. Leonard. Face to face? Are you going to wait for him to sit down, or are you going to stand on a coffee table? Expression. Sheldon's immediate and insulting observation about Leonard's height in comparison to Kurt. Undermining Leonard's bravado. Sheldon. Given the reaction to my costume, this party is a scathing indictment of the American education system. Vocabulary. Scathing indictment. A fiercely critical or condemning expression of disapproval. Expression. Sheldon blames the lack of understanding of his costume on the failure of the education system, characteristic of his intellectual elitism. Kurt. What, you're a zebra, right? Sheldon. Yet another child left behind. Cultural reference. No Child Left Behind, a U.S. Education Act. Expression. Sheldon's continued elitist jabs at Kurt's lack of understanding. Using a play on a political slogan. Kurt. And what are you supposed to be, an elf? Leonard. No, I'm a hobbit. Kurt. What's the difference? Leonard. A hobbit is a mortal halfling inhabitant of Middle-earth, whereas an elf is an immortal tall warrior. Kurt. So why the hell would you want to be a hobbit? Sheldon. Because he is neither tall nor immortal, and none of us could be the Flash. Cultural reference. Middle-earth. The fictional world from J.R.R. Tolkien's The Lord of the Rings. Expression. Leonard attempts to explain the nuanced differences between fantasy races and Kurt's pragmatic and insulting dismissal, with Sheldon once again offering a brutally honest and deflating explanation for Leonard's choice. Kurt: well, whatever, why don't you go? Hop off on a quest, I'm talking to Penny here. Leonard: I think we're all talking to Penny here. Sheldon: I'm not. No offense. Expression: Kurt's dismissive insult and possessive claim over Penny, Leonard's weak attempt to assert himself, and Sheldon's immediate and socially oblivious declaration that he's not interested in talking to Penny. Leonard: okay, I understand your impulse to try to physically intimidate me. I mean, you can't compete with me on an intellectual level, and so you're driven to animalistic puffery. Kurt: are you calling me a puffy animal? Penny: of course not. No, he's not. You're not, right, Leonard? Leonard: no, I said animalistic. Of course we're all animals, but some of us have climbed a little higher on the evolutionary tree. Sheldon: if he understands that, you're in trouble. Vocabulary: intimidate, to frighten or overawe someone, especially in order to make them do what one wants. Animalistic puffery, Leonard's pseudo intellectual insult, implying Kurt is driven by base, animal instincts. Evolutionary tree, a branching diagram showing the evolutionary relationships among various biological species. Expression: Leonard's escalating intellectual insults, which Kurt misunderstands, and Sheldon's prophetic warning that if Kurt does understand, Leonard is in trouble, building tension. Kurt: you know, you use a lot of big words for such a little dwarf. Penny: okay, Kurt, please. Leonard: no, Penny, it's okay, I can handle this. I'm not a dwarf, I'm a hobbit. A hobbit. Are misfiring neurons in your hippocampus preventing the conversion from short-term to long-term memory? Kurt: okay, now you're starting to make me mad. Anatomy, neurology, hippocampus, a part of the brain involved in memory formation. Misfiring neurons. Neurons that are not functioning correctly. Expression: Kurt's direct height insult, Leonard's pedantic correction about his costume, and his increasingly complex and insulting neurological question, which finally provokes Kurt's anger. Leonard: a Homo habilis discovering his opposable thumb says what? Kurt: what? Leonard: I think I've made my point. Anthropology. Homo habilis, an early species of hominin, known for using tools and having opposable thumbs. Expression: Leonard's final, highly obscure, and insulting scientific jab, using the says what playground taunt, believing he has triumphed. Sheldon: let me remind you, while my moral support is absolute, in a physical confrontation I will be less than useless. Expression: Sheldon's characteristic cowardice and honesty about his physical limitations, directly contradicting his earlier, I've got your back, declaration. Kurt, physically lifting Leonard from the ground, confrontation. Penny: Kurt, put him down this instant. Expression: Kurt's physical response, spelling out the word while acting it out, showing his literal interpretation of confrontation, and his disdain for Leonard's intellectualism. Penny immediately intervenes, taking charge. Sheldon: he's a hobbit. I've got your back. Expression: Sheldon's continued pedantic correction about Leonard's costume, even in a moment of physical danger, and his renewed, and still useless, offer of moral support. Leonard: yeah, no, I'm fine. It's good, it's a good party, thanks for having us, it's just getting a little late so. Expression: Leonard's immediate retreat and forced politeness, trying to quickly escape the embarrassing situation. Sheldon: if it's any consolation, I thought that Homo habilis line really put him in his place. Expression: Sheldon, still focused on the intellectual victory, offers a consolation that Leonard clearly doesn't appreciate. Scene: the living room. Sheldon brings Leonard a cup of tea. Sheldon: what's that? Sheldon: tea. When people are upset, the cultural convention is to bring them hot beverages. There, you want to talk about it? Leonard: no. Sheldon: good. There was really all I had. Expression: Sheldon's attempt at providing comfort based on logical observation of social norms, revealing his limitations in emotional support. Scene: the apartment, there is a knock on the door. Penny, knocking on door and entering, hey Leonard. Leonard, hi Penny. Penny, hey, I just wanted to make sure you're okay. Leonard, I'm fine. Penny, I'm so sorry about what happened. Leonard, it's not your fault. Penny, yes it is. That's why I broke up with him, he always does stuff like that. Expression. Penny's immediate empathy and apology, revealing the pattern of Kurt's behavior in her own past. Mistakes. Penny, well, I ran into him last week and he was just all apologetic about how he's changed. He was just going on and I believed him and I'm in. Idiot because I always believe guys like that and I can't go back to my party because he's there and I know you don't want to hear this and I'm upset and I'm really drunk and I just want to bursts into tears and rests head on Leonard's shoulder. Expression. Penny's drunken, emotional confession of her past relationship patterns, her regret, and her vulnerability, revealing her deeper insecurities. Leonard, they're there. Expression. Leonard, having been given the script by Sheldon earlier, attempts to offer comfort, showing a rare moment of applying learned social skills. Leonard, nothing, you're perfect. Penny, gah, I'm not perfect. Leonard, yes you are. Penny, you really think so, don't you? She kisses him. Expression. Leonard's sincere, and perhaps opportunistically romantic compliments, leading to Penny's reciprocated kiss, fueled by her vulnerability and intoxication. Leonard, are you sure that you're being drunk, and you're being angry with Kurt? Doesn't have something to do with what's going on here. Penny, it might. Boy, you're really smart. Expression. Leonard, surprisingly, questions Penny's motives, showing a moment of self-awareness and integrity, even as Penny praises his intelligence. Leonard, yeah, I'm a frickin' genius. Slang. Frickin' slang, a mild expletive. Expression. Leonard's moment of triumph and self-congratulation, feeling validated. Leonard, because if all guys were like me, the human race couldn't survive. Expression. Leonard's self-deprecating but astute observation about his own unsuitability for perpetuating the human race due to his dork tendencies. Humorously contrasting with Penny's praise. Penny, in doorway, thank you. She kisses him again. Kurt is watching. Leonard, that's right, you saw what you saw. That's how we roll in the Shire. Closes door quickly, locks and chains it. Cultural reference. The Shire, the homeland of hobbits in The Lord of the Rings. Expression. Leonard's defiant, and slightly childish, taunt to Kurt, using a Lord of the Rings reference, followed by his immediate fear and securing of the door, highlighting his true level of courage. Scene. The apartment, there is a knock on the door. Sheldon. Maybe the Avenger summoned him. Howard. He's not the Marvel comic story, he's the original Norse god. Cultural references. The Avenger, the Avengers, Marvel Comics superhero team. Norse god, Thor. Expression. Sheldon's default to the comic book version, and Howard's pedantic correction, showing their shared geek interests. Sheldon. Well, I'm sure he'll be fine. He has his hammer. Expression. Sheldon's literal and naive belief in the power of Thor's hammer, failing to understand the practical concerns. Scene. A random bedroom. Butterfly costume girl is climbing off of Raj. Butterfly girl. Wow, I have to say, you are an amazing man. You're gentle and passionate, and my God, you are such a good listener. Raj puts hands behind head with a smug expression on his face. Expression. The unexpected reveal that Raj, despite his selective mutism with women, has successfully had an intimate encounter. The girl praises his listening skills, which is the only way he can interact with women, leading to Raj's smug, and well-deserved, self-satisfaction. This is a comedic twist on his usual romantic failures.